The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown. That is a quote from H.P. Lovecraft, father of modern horror and creator of his own slimy and sea-bound mythos. Lovecraft's work and the effect it has had on modern society is a testimony to what can be done if you combine the fear of what man should not know with other more conventional phobias. And this is the exact same thing we see in Subnautica. Using these age-old methods along with stunning and very intentional visual, auditory and story design techniques, Subnautica is counted as one of the greatest accidental horror games of this age. In this video, I will use academic psychological research alongside real statements from Corey Strader, Unknown World's art director, to explain why. When swimming in the safe shallows of this game, it's easy to feel, well, safe. The creatures, the sounds, and even the storyline you find in this area are all meant to lull you into a false sense of security and make you feel safe. The tracks that play here are all calm, pulsing, and angelic. The creatures are all colourful and resemble earthly sea creatures you might find in coral reefs. Strader informed me this was no accident.
What we wanted is naturalistic believability and familiarity to a lot of the creatures. And then from there you can kind of push into some other more extremes.
All of this is meant to make you feel comfortable, so that when you're faced with eventual danger, you're unprepared and afraid. I want to take a step back for a second. If you think about what makes a game like Subnautica scary, what's the first thing that pops to mind? Probably several things, right? You're abandoned, completely alone in deep, dark waters, where you might die or be eaten by huge monsters that resemble commonly hated animals such as snakes, spiders, and sharks. Oh, and no one is coming to save you. Several of these stimuli have been scientifically proven to be scary, even to adults. Carlton said in 2016 that fear of the unknown may be a, or possibly the, fundamental fear. Erica Hornstein said in 2022 that prolonged social disconnection, aka what we see in Subnautica, can have a profound physical and mental effect on adults and will increase the likelihood of fear disorders. In 2014, a study found that 71% of young adults still experience fear of the dark. These are all types of fear the player will experience in-game, all at once. The concept of category jamming is referenced by Michael Stevens in his Mindfield episode on fear. He says when our learned fears are combined just right, they can be scarier than the sum of their parts. This might explain a few of the phenomena in Subnautica. The darkness, the isolation, the creepy crawlies, these are all things that have been subliminally placed into the game's environment to make the player afraid. And when these stimuli are combined, they create an environment that is a breeding ground for paranoia and terror. I want you to picture this scene for a moment. You swim far out away from your base when all of a sudden the water gets murkier. The music drops and is replaced by silence, followed by an ear-rending roar. You see, from out the darkness, a serpentine tail flickering before it disappears again. Bright red and white flesh and then the jump scare from behind, and scene. This is many people's first experience with the Reaper Leviathan, perhaps the game's most terrifying creature.
The Reaper Leviathan was something that started out as just like another shark design. We're looking for, a medium-sized shark-type creatures, and then we put it in game, we just kind of ended up scaling it up, and we're like, this is really cool.
Many things make this experience terrifying, especially to a new player. However, I think that the Reaper's sound plays a huge part in how it's perceived. Just listen to it. Corey Strader seemed to agree with me on this.
All the audio design was hugely effective in making it feel creepy, when you're just hearing these kind of like unsettling sounds and some roars off in the distance, especially with the Reaper Leviathan.
Even though this game was never created to be a horror game, it ended up becoming one after the fans loved those aspects of it. By leaning into the horror of the unknown alongside the more conventional fears humans tend to have, Unknown Worlds built this beautifully terrifying game that will comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable.